Hey students, this is Mr. Bell. We're going to go over our first activity, which is working with black and white photos and working with color. Okay, so initially what we'll be covering over this project will be working with layers, working with hue and saturations, working with adjustments, layer mask, and that's pretty much it for right now. So those are all like the bare basics of the program, like kind of like the root and of the different functions that you will see you can build off of. Okay, so remember, tools on the left, all of our panels or windows are on the right. So right now we don't need the library, so in order to collapse, you just double click on that panel and it'll collapse. So right now I'm working with my colors and my layers. This is the two main areas I'll be focusing on. Okay, so now we just need to find a black and white image. So I will go to Google Drive. All right, I already did a Google search for this image. Okay, so what I did was I just did a Google search for black and white photo, chose this image, and if you look to the right, you'll see the file size. So you want to get a fairly large image, so an image that's at least 1,000 by 1,000 pixels. All right, so this one here is matches that requirement. So we got 3,000, like 3,800 by 1,300 here. All right, so now you want to get the larger version of that image. So this is here. You click View Image. Okay, so this brings you up to the larger version. All right, so there's a few different ways that you can open an image up in Photoshop. All right, well, actually there's like two. All right, so the first one here is save, and then the second one is copy. So the save, I pretty much already saved it, but I'll show you what it looks like. So you just click Save Image. Okay, and I've already saved it here, black and white photo activity. So I'll save it over again and replace it. Okay, now when I go to Photoshop, I go to File, go to Open. Okay, and I just navigate to that folder that I was just in. So I had it under my digital design folder and under the images folder. Okay, so black and white photo activity, I'm going to open it up, and there you go. All right, so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is if you right click on the photo, and this is kind of like a quick way, you just copy the image. Okay, so now it's actually copied to, like, the computer saves the image in its clipboards. All right, so it's like a digital envelope right now that it's saving. So now when you open up Photoshop and you click New Document, okay, so File, New, and then this looks very familiar, right? This is the same size of the image that we saw here. All right, so essentially what it did was it copied the image, saved all the image information on what they call the clipboard. Okay, and then it actually, when you open up a new document, it actually adheres to all the information that's already saved. So that's where you see this word clipboard. Okay, so all the information on the clipboard from Google is being saved, and when you open it up in Photoshop, all right, it'll set your area, your canvas or whatever, to the same size proportions. So all I'm going to do now is simply go to Edit and Paste. Okay, all right, and so remember too, there's a shortcut. If you look over here on the right hand side, you'll see all these little codes where it says like Control V, Shift Control C, Control C. All right, all these different functions here have shortcuts, computer shortcuts. So if I press Control V, it'll paste the photo. It would have did the same thing. Okay, so if I can't close this out, and I'll just do it over. Okay, and then I'll just press Control V, and there you go. My photo's there. So there's two ways you can open up photos in Photoshop. You can save it and then open it, or you can just simply copy it, make a new document, and then paste it. Okay, all right, so now we have the photo, and now what we want to do is make sure that we take this layer here and lock it. Okay, because we're going to be working pretty much on top of it, on top of this layer. All right, so this is layer number one. All right, there's a few things you can do. All right, so these little buttons down here all pertain to this layer palette. So this button here is the button to create a new layer. All right, so this button here is to create a group. So say if I had like a couple of layers, all right, I can select all of these by holding shift, all right, and selecting these layers. And then if I click create group, it's going to automatically put all those layers into a group. Okay, so really easy, right? So you have your group folder and you have all your layers inside that group, and you can tell that it's inside because they're all indented. You'll see like they all, here's the group folder, and they all like fall under that group. And when you press this little arrow here, you pretty much are collapsing that group. All right, so that's just one way to kind of organize all your layers and clean up, because this thing can get crowded. I mean, super crowded when you're working with a lot of layers. So it's best to kind of coordinate that way. And also too, if you wanted to, you can actually color coordinate by right clicking, and you can, you know, change the color of your layers. So you can make, you know, certain layers red and certain layers orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, or gray. Okay, so whatever it is that you want, you can, you know, kind of coordinate, so that way it kind of helps you understand which is what. All right, so say if this all was in one group, all right, so everything in that group would be yellow, so that's the yellow group. Okay, or you can do individual layers and change those colors. Okay, so that's real basic about layer. So pretty much all you'll be focusing on right now is making a new layer, and then on working with layer groups. Okay, all right, so like I said, I'm just making a new layer, and if we go over here, I already have my paintbrush tool selected, and we're going to color some things in this photo. Okay, so make sure that you're working on that new layer that's on top of this photo, and make sure that this photo here is locked. Okay, so there's a little lock button that I pressed earlier, okay, to lock this layer. And so all this does is it allows you to not be able to move the layer or even work on the layer. You'll get this little cursor icon that has this little, you know, stop sign thing here, and it's pretty much telling you can't do anything else with it. Okay, so we're working on this layer, and we're going to start coloring this photo. All right, so say if I want to increase my brush size, I can go up here. All right, or I can press a shortcut, which is the right bracket to enlarge it, and then the left bracket to minimize it. Okay, and so all I'm going to do is just start kind of coloring this photo, but oops, looks what happens. All right, so it looks great, but I have these colors here selected, and see, all my colors are turning out great. So what do I have to do? I have to initially take this photo, all right, and change my color mode. All right, so I go to image, mode, okay, and right now you'll see what it's on. It's on grayscale. All right, so whenever you open up a photo that's already black and white, it's usually in grayscale mode. So you want to change it to RGB. All right, and then you don't want to merge it. Okay, so RGB is the typical color that you use for Photoshop. All right, so that is like the best color mode to use versus anything else. And we'll go over the difference between RGB and CMYK and all those other color modes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this layer, and I'll make a new one. And now that I have the color mode correct and I have my paintbrush selected, I'm just going to go ahead and choose a color, something bright, and I'll just go ahead and paint. All right, so it looks funny right now, right? Looks like a big blob of color, okay, on these different items, and you're kind of losing the detail from the coins and all that other stuff. All right, so there's a way to fix this. Okay, so right now we're not using blending modes. Okay, so when you blend the color, okay, the color actually blends into the photo, and that's all it is. It's called a blending mode. It's just like that. Okay, so understand that terminology, blending mode. You're just blending colors together with images. So right now we have our blending mode set to normal, and we want to set that to a different blending mode that actually helps us see detail. So what you can do is while you click, you just let go, okay, and it'll stay there. And now you can just tab down with the arrow and go through the different blending modes to see which one works. Okay, so I'm going to choose let's start with darken. Okay. Now, if you look and see, there's like a little blue line around here. That means that the blending mode option is still selected. So now I can use my arrow and just go through each one to see which one works the best. All right. Color dodge, lighter color, overlay, soft light, vivid light. All right. So different options that you can choose from, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with I usually work with multiply, okay, because that gives you the closest color that you used. All right. So if you want to erase what you've already done, you just go over to your eraser tool. Okay. You select that and then you can just get rid of that color. And now it's back to black and white. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's find a different color. Okay. And color it in and make sure we're on multiply. And there you go. We can start and voila. You see, all of your detail is still there. Okay, and maybe I want to get rid of this inside part here. All right, so that's pretty much the basics of being able to color photos in Photoshop. All right, so remember we're working with layers, blending modes, the paintbrush. All right, we use the eraser. We know how to open up a photo in Photoshop. We know how to copy a photo into Photoshop. All right, so the next video that we're going to go over, we're going to actually show you how to refine some of these areas using selections and masks.